Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Daisy, your hostess. In this video, we continue on with the book titled The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you found me. And to you subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in, and also want you to know that I appreciate your comments and the recommendations of future book readings you have asked me. Some of them are going to be in delay as I am requesting the author to give me consent. Some of those books are not in the public domain, but I'm looking forward to their responses and also keeping you updated. Okay, so the previous chapter was titled Your Subconscious Mind and Your Happiness. And he starts off by mentioning a famous American psychologist, William James, who said that the greatest discovery was not anything in the physical science, but the discoveries of the mind, understanding that great potential of the subconscious mind has been untapped, unresearched. And we could tell you that from the printing of that book many years later, we're now delving into artificial intelligence based on our own neural responses of our mind. So let us not be fooled, us, well, myself, average people, that the governments are not doing their deep dive on how to really understand the subconscious mind. Who knows for what reason? Who knows for what reason? You can only guess as much as I. Now, he also stated that happiness is a state of mind, and more so that it is a choice, and a choice that we all have. And I believe it's part of those, inalienable rights, to choose happiness and freedom and all these beautiful pursuits of life. I believe that for us individually, because based on our upbringing, based on our background, based on our situations that we have, we may all define happiness differently. But so I would say that we all individually should start by defining what is happiness. And I think that that is quite important, because if we don't know where we're going with something, how are we possibly going to get there? And the more that we understand how we define happiness, how we define love, how we define success, it is easier for us to do that deep dive and then begin to map out how we're going to, get where we're going, whether it's intangible or not. Someone might say happiness is waking up to see sunrises. Others might say happiness is, going to work. So whatever that is, it's important that we personally define that. And as it relates to this chapter, take all the golden nuggets that we can. Dr. Joseph Murphy suggested that we start each day, not with just a cup of coffee. He didn't say that. But he said we start, by affirming that we're going to choose happiness. And that's what he suggests. And he also went on to say, that some people just want misery. And maybe someone like that. I know a few people like that, which personally, it's like I try to circulate not in those circles. Because those people, they enjoy their company. And I believe that was the title of that section, was Misery Loves Company. And if you notice, miserable people are going to talk about their woes, the economy, how bad it is, the world is bad, the relationships are bad, the neighbors are bad. They will find anything dark and gloomy, and that's how they latch onto it. Not to look for solutions on how to make life better, no, but just to find other people also that, will agree with, how miserable things are. Who knows why they do that? Maybe that's a default. You know how I've mentioned this in some of the earlier videos from this chapter? Maybe, we have default thinking, and that's based on a very human behavior, which is we are the habits that we maintain, and that's what we default to. That's why sometimes, even when they talk about people that win the lottery, if they don't have the habits of managing money or big amounts of money, investing money, circulating the money versus spending the money, then they're going to default sooner or later to that pattern, and they the easily gained abundance that they had is easily lost. That's the best way I can explain it. That we default to our, I would say, traditional way of thinking. And it goes back to what? What's the first cause? The first cause is the thought. Everything else is the secondary. The word is almost like itself. The word is almost like an action that's coming in from the thought, and everything else follows as the creation of it. I mean, I am sitting in this chair because this particular chair was inside somebody's mind, how they wanted it with the certain design. And I'm sitting in that thought that now is material. It was a thought. And so I am really understanding that what we see out here is a projection of our thinking. And maybe, what you're buying and what you're surrounding yourself with is not, generated by you, but because of your personal wants, you're creating it into your life. You're attracting it into your life. You're aligning with it. So when you're thinking about the circle of friends you have, the life that you have, maybe it's time to revisit those thoughts and see what we need to expunge and, flush out. And so based on happiness, what are the thoughts that you're indulging in? What are those thoughts? Are they debilitating? Are they anger thoughts, hatred thoughts, resentful thoughts? What are these thoughts? And then dare to peel back like an onion and see what the next layer is. Why? And, of whom? And then ask yourself, is it something in them that's triggering something about you that you would like to change? Is it something that happened in the past that, it just bothers you, but you still need to make peace and forgiveness with? A lot of good questions that can help us remove the mental blocks that are preventing ourselves from sabotaging our own happiness. Make sense? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And before we move on to the next chapter, I am going to quote Dr. Joseph Murphy because I loved the way he said it. The best are not only the happiest, but the happiest are usually the best in the art of living. And how beautiful it is to see life as an art, and that we are that artist, and that we have some control, I would say a lot of control, in how we feel and think and respond to the things around us. All right, with that, let's move on to the next chapter. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Chapter 16, Your Subconscious Mind and Harmonious Human Relations. In studying this book, you learn that your subconscious mind is a recording machine which faithfully reproduces whatever you impress upon it. This is one of the reasons for the application of the golden rule in human relations. From the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 12, says, All things whatsoever ye would that men should do unto you, do ye even so to them. And this quotation has outer and inner meanings. You are interested in its inner meaning from the standpoint of your subconscious mind, which is, as you would that men should think about you, think you about them in like manner. As you would that men should feel about you, feel you also about them in like manner. As you would want men to act toward you, act you toward them in like manner. For example, you may be polite and courteous to someone in your office, but when his back is turned, you are very critical and resentful toward him in your mind. Such negative thoughts are highly destructive to you. It is like taking poison. You are actually taking mental poisons which rob you of vitality, enthusiasm, strength, guidance, and goodwill. These negative thoughts and emotions sink down into your subconscious and cause all kinds of difficulties and maladies in your life. The master key to happy relationships with others. Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. From the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 12. A study of these verses and the application of the inner truths therein contained represent the real key to harmonious relations. To judge is to think, to arrive at a mental verdict or conclusion in your mind. The thought you have about the other person is your thought because you are thinking it. Your thoughts are creative, therefore, you actually create in your own experience what you think and feel about the other person. It is also true that the suggestion you give to another, you give to yourself because your mind is the creative medium. This is why it is said, For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. When you know this law and the way your subconscious mind works, you are careful to think. feel, and act right toward the other. These verses teach you about the emancipation of man and reveal to you the solution to your individual problems. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. The good you do for others comes back to you in like measure, and the evil you do returns to you by the law of your own mind. If a man cheats and deceives another, he is actually cheating and deceiving himself. His sense of guilt and mood of loss inevitably will attract loss to him in some way at some time. His subconscious records his mental act and reacts according to this mental intention or motivation. Your subconscious mind is impersonal and unchanging, neither considering persons nor respecting religious affiliations or institutions of any kind. It is neither compassionate nor vindictive. The way you think, feel, and act toward others returns at last upon yourself. The daily headlines made him sick. Begin now to observe yourself. Observe your reactions to people, conditions, and circumstances. How do you respond to the events and news of the day? It makes no difference if all the other people were wrong and you alone were right. If the news disturbs you, it is your evil because your negative emotions robbed you of peace and harmony. A woman wrote me about her husband, saying that he goes into a rage when he reads what certain newspapers columnists write in the newspaper. She added that this constant reaction of anger and suppressed rage on his part brought out bleeding ulcers, and his physician recommended an emotional reconditioning. I invited this man to see me, and I explained to him that the way his mind functions, indicating how emotionally immature it was to get angry when others write articles which he disapproves of or disagrees. He began to realize that he should give the newspaper man freedom to express himself, even though the latter disagreed with him politically, religiously, or in any other way. In the same manner, the newspaper man would give him freedom to write a letter to the newspaper disagreeing with his published statements. He learned that he could disagree without being disagreeable. He awakened to the simple truth that it is never what a person says or does that affects him. It is his reaction to what is said or done that matters. This explanation was the cure for this man, and he realized that with a little practice he could master his morning tantrums. His wife told me subsequently that he laughed at himself and also at what the columnists say. They no longer have power to disturb, annoy, and irritate him. His ulcers have disappeared due to his emotional poise and serenity. I hate women, but I like men. A private secretary was very bitter toward some of the girls in her office because they were gossiping about her and, as she said, spreading vicious lies about her. She admitted that she did not like women. She said, "I hate women, but I like men." I discovered also that she spoke to the girls who were under her in the office in a very haughty, imperious, and irritable tone of voice. She pointed out that they took a delight in making things difficult for her. There was a certain pomposity in her way of speaking, and I could see where her tone of voice would affect some people unpleasantly. If all the people in the office or factory annoy you, isn't it a possibility that the vibration, annoyance, and turmoil may be due to some subconscious pattern or mental projection from you? We know that a dog will react ferociously if you hate or fear dogs. Animals pick up your subconscious vibrations and react accordingly. Many undisciplined human beings are just as sensitive as dogs, cats, and other animals. I suggested a process of prayer to this private secretary who hated women, explaining to her that when she began to identify herself with spiritual values and commenced to affirm the truths of life, her voice, mannerism, and hatred of women would completely disappear. She was surprised to know that the emotion of hatred shows up in a person's speech, actions, in his writings, and in all phases of his life. She ceased reacting in the typical resentful and angry way. She established a pattern of prayer which she practiced regularly, systematically, and conscientiously in the office. The prayer was as follows: I think, speak, and act lovingly, quietly, and peacefully. I now radiate love. peace, tolerance, and kindliness to all the girls who criticized me and gossiped about me. I anchor my thoughts on peace, harmony, and goodwill to all. Whenever I am about to react negatively, I say firmly to myself, I'm going to think, speak, and act from the standpoint of the principle of harmony, health, and peace within myself. Creative intelligence leads, rules, and guides me in all my ways. The practice of this prayer transformed her life, and she found that all criticism and annoyance ceased. The girls became co-workers and friends along life's journey. She discovered that there is no one to change but myself. His inner speech held back his promotion. One day, a salesman came to see me and described his difficulties in working with the sales manager of his organization. He had been with the company 10 years and had received no promotion or recognition of any kind. He showed me his sales figures, which were greater proportionately than the other men in the territory. He said that the sales manager did not like him, that he was unjustly treated, and that at conferences the manager was rude to him and at times ridiculed his suggestions. I explained that undoubtedly the cause was to a great degree within himself, and that his concept and belief about his superior bore witness to the reaction of this man. The measure we meet shall be measured to us again. His mental measure or concept of the sales manager was that he was mean and cantankerous. He was filled with bitterness and hostility toward the executive. On his way to work, he conducted a vigorous conversation with himself filled with criticism, mental arguments, recriminations, and denunciations of his sales manager. What he gave out mentally, he was inevitably bound to get back. This salesman realized that his inner speech was highly destructive because the intensity and force of his silent thoughts and emotions and personally conducted mental condemnation and vilification of the sales manager entered into his own subconscious mind. This brought about the negative response from his boss as well as creating many other personal, physical, and emotional disorders. He began to pray frequently as follows: I am the only thinker in my universe. I am responsible for what I think about my boss. My sales manager is not responsible for the way I think about him. I refuse to give power to any person, place, or thing to annoy me or disturb me. I wish health, success, peace of mind, and happiness for my boss. I sincerely wish him well, and I know he is divinely guided in all his ways. He repeated this prayer out loud slowly, quietly, and feelingly, knowing that his mind is like a garden and that whatever he plants in the garden will come forth like seeds after their kind. I also taught him to practice mental imagery prior to sleep in this way. He imagined that his sales manager was congratulating him on his fine work, on his zeal and enthusiasm, and on his wonderful response from customers. He felt the reality of all this, felt his handshake, heard the tone of his voice, and saw him smile. He made a real mental movie, dramatizing it to the best of his ability. Night after night, he conducted this mental movie, knowing that his subconscious mind was the receptive plate on which his conscious imagery would be produced. Gradually, by a process of what may be termed mental and spiritual osmosis, the impression was made on his subconscious mind, and the expression automatically came forth. The sales manager subsequently called him up to San Francisco, congratulated him, and gave him a new assignment as division sales manager over 100 men with a big increase in salary. He changed his concept and estimate of his boss, and the latter responded accordingly. Become emotionally mature. What the other person says or does cannot really annoy or irritate you except you permit him to disturb you. The only way he can annoy you is through your own thought. For example, if you get angry, you have to go through 4 stages in your mind. You begin to think about what he said. You decided to get angry and generate an emotion of rage. Then you decided to act. Perhaps you talk back and react in kind. You see that the thought, emotion, reaction, and action all take place in your mind. When you become emotionally mature, you do not respond negatively to the criticism and resentment of others. To do so would mean that you had descended to the state of low mental vibration and become one with the negative atmosphere of the other. Identify yourself with your aim in life and do not permit any person, place, or thing to deflect you from your inner sense of peace, tranquility, and radiant health. The meaning of love in harmonious human relations. Sigmund Freud, the Austrian founder of psychoanalysis, said that unless the personality has love, it sickens and dies. Love includes understanding, goodwill, and respect for the divinity in the other person. The more love and goodwill you emanate and exude, the more comes back to you. If you puncture the other fellow's ego and wound his estimate of himself, you cannot gain his goodwill. Recognize that every man wants to be loved and appreciated and made to feel important in the world. Realize that the other man is conscious of his true worth and that, like yourself, he feels the dignity of being an expression of the one life principle animating all men. As you do this consciously and knowingly, you build the other person up and he returns your love and goodwill. He hated audiences. An actor told me that the audience booed and hissed him on his first appearance on the stage. He added that the play was badly written and that undoubtedly he did not play a good role. He admitted openly to me that for months afterward he hated audiences. He called them dopes, dummies, stupid, ignorant, gullible, etc. He quit the stage in disgust and went to work in a drugstore for a year. One day a friend invited him to hear a lecture in town, New York City, on how to get along with ourselves. This lecture changed his life. He went back to the stage and began to pray sincerely for the audience and himself. He poured out love and goodwill every night before appearing on the stage. He made it a habit to claim that the peace of God filled the hearts of all present and that all present were lifted up and inspired. During each performance, he sent out love vibrations to the audience. Today, he is a great actor and he loves and respects people. His goodwill and esteem are transmitted to others and are felt by them. Handling difficult people. There are difficult people in the world who are twisted and distorted mentally. They are malconditioned. Many are mental delinquents, argumentative, uncooperative, cantankerous, cynical, and sore on life. They are sick psychologically. Many people have deformed and distorted minds, probably warped during childhood. Many have congenital deformities. You would not condemn a person who had tuberculosis, nor should you condemn a person who is mentally ill. No one, for example, hates or resents a hunchback. There are many mental hunchbacks. You should have compassion and understanding. To understand all is to forgive all. Misery loves company. The hateful, frustrated, distorted, and twisted personality is out of tune with the infinite. He resents those who are peaceful, happy, and joyous. Usually, he criticizes, condemns, and vilifies those who have been very good and kind to him. His attitude is this: why should they be so happy when he is so miserable? He wants to drag them down to his own level. Misery loves company. When you understand this, you remain unmoved, calm, and dispassionate. The practice of empathy in human relations. A girl visited me recently, stating she hated another girl in her office. She gave as her reason that the other girl was prettier, happier, and wealthier than she, and in addition, was engaged to the boss of the company where they worked. One day after the marriage had taken place, the crippled daughter, by a former marriage, of the woman whom she hated came into the office. The child put her arms around her mother and said, "Mommy, Mommy, I love my new daddy. Look what he gave me." She showed her mother a wonderful new toy. She said to me, my heart went out to that little girl and I knew how happy she must feel. I got a vision of how happy this woman was. All of a sudden I felt love for her and I went into the office and wished her all the happiness in the world, and I meant it. In psychological circles today, this is called empathy, which simply means the imaginative projection of your mental attitude into that of another. She projected her mental mood or the feeling of her heart into that of the other woman and began to think and look out through the other woman's brain. She was actually thinking and feeling as the other woman and also as the child, because she likewise had projected herself into the mind of the child. She was looking out from the vantage point of the child's mother. If tempted to injure or think ill of another, project yourself mentally into the mind of Moses and think from the standpoint of the Ten Commandments. If you are prone to be envious, jealous, or angry, project yourself into the mind of Jesus and think from that standpoint, and you will feel the truth of the words, "Love ye one another." Appeasement never wins. Do not permit people to take advantage of you and gain their point by temper tantrums, crying jags, or so-called heart attacks. These people are dictators who try to enslave you and make you do their bidding. Be firm but kind and refuse to yield. Appeasement never wins. Refuse to contribute to their delinquency, selfishness, and possessiveness. Remember, do that which is right. You are here to fulfill your ideal and remain true to the eternal verities and spiritual values of life, which are eternal. Give no one in all the world the power to deflect you from your goal, your aim in life, which is to express your hidden talents to the world, to serve humanity, and to reveal more and more of God's wisdom, truth, and beauty to all people in the world. Remain true to your ideal. Know definitely and absolutely that whatever contributes to your peace, happiness, and fulfillment must of necessity bless all men who walk the earth. The harmony of the part is the harmony of the whole, for the whole is in the part, and the part is in the whole. All you owe the other, as Paul says, is love, and love is the fulfilling of the law of health, happiness, and peace of mind. Profitable pointers in human relations. 1. Your subconscious mind is a recording machine which reproduces your habitual thinking. Think good of the other, and you are actually thinking good about yourself. 2. A hateful or resentful thought is a mental poison. Do not think ill of another, for to do so is to think ill of yourself. You are the only thinker in your universe, and your thoughts are creative. 3. Your mind is a creative medium. Therefore, what you think and feel about the other, you are bringing to pass in your own experience. This is the psychological meaning of the golden rule. As you would that man should think about you, think you about them in the same manner. 4. To cheat, rob, or defraud another brings lack, loss, and limitation to yourself. Your subconscious mind records your inner motivations, thoughts, and feelings. These being of a negative nature, loss, limitation, and trouble come to you in countless ways. Actually, what you do to the other, you are doing to yourself. 5. The good you do, the kindness proffered, the love and good will you send forth, will all come back to you multiplied in many ways. 6. You are the only thinker in your world. You are responsible for the way you think about the other. Remember, the other person is not responsible for the way you think about him. Your thoughts are reproduced. What are you thinking now about the other fellow? 7. Become emotionally mature and permit other people to differ from you. They have a perfect right to disagree with you, and you have the same freedom to disagree with them. You can disagree without being disagreeable. 8. Animals pick up your fear vibrations and snap at you. If you love animals, they will never attack you. Many undisciplined human beings are just as sensitive as dogs, cats, and other animals. 9. Your inner speech, representing your silent thoughts and feelings, is experienced in the reactions of others toward you. 10. Wish for the other what you wish for yourself. This is the key to harmonious human relations. 11. Change your concept and estimate of your employer, feel and know he is practicing the golden rule and the law of love, and he will respond accordingly. 12. The other person cannot annoy you or irritate you except you permit him. Your thought is creative. You can bless him. If someone calls you a skunk, you have the freedom to say to the other, God's peace fills your soul. 14. Love is the answer to getting along with others. Love is understanding, goodwill, and respecting the divinity of the other. 15. You would not hate a hunchback or cripple. You would have compassion. Have compassion and understanding for mental hunchbacks who have been conditioned negatively. To understand all is to forgive all. 16. Rejoice in the success, promotion, and good fortune of the other. In doing so, you attract good fortune to yourself. 17. Never yield to emotional scenes and tantrums of others. Appeasement never wins. Do not be a doormat. Adhere to that which is right. Stick to your ideal, knowing that the mental outlook which gives you peace, happiness, and joy is right, good, and true. What blesses you, blesses all. 18. All you owe any person in the world is love, and love is wishing for everyone what you wish for yourself: health, happiness, and all the blessings of life. End of chapter. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's head over to the next video as we continue on with the book titled The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy.